Hello. Today I would like to introduce Ryunosuke Akutagawa's first short story for children, The Spider's Thread. This is what happened one day. Shakyamuni was strolling alone around the banks of the lotus pond in paradise. The lotus flowers that bloom in the pond are all pearl-like white, and the indescribable scent is incessantly overflowing from the golden pistils of its center. It seems paradise is just in the morning. After a short while, Shakyamuni stands at the edge of the pond and taking a look at the state below through the lotus leaves that cover the surface of the water. Since beneath the lotus pond of this paradise hits exactly at the bottom of hell, you can clearly see the scenery of the three crossings river, Styx, and the mountain of needles through the crystal-like water, just like looking through the peeping glasses. Then, at the bottom of hell, with the other sinners, a man named Candada's wriggling figure caught his eye. This man named Candida is a master thief who had killed people, had set fire to houses, and had done various evil deeds, but he still remembers only one good thing he had done. That is, as this man was passing through a deep forest one time, he had noticed a tiny spider crawling along the roadside. So, Candida immediately raised his foot and tried to trample it to death, but he suddenly reconsidered no, even though it's tiny, it must be a living thing. To take its life for no reason would be way too cruel, and he eventually saved the spider without killing it. While looking at the state of hell, Shakyamuni recalled that this Candida had saved a spider. Then, in reward for doing such a good thing, he thought that if possible, he would relieve this man out from hell. Fortunately, when he looks at the side, a paradise spider hangs a beautiful silver thread on the jade-colored lotus leaf. Shakyamuni softly picked up the spider's thread and dropped it through the pearl-like white lotus to the bottom of hell far below. Here is Candida, who is floating and sinking in a blood pond at the bottom of hell with the other sinners. Anyhow, no matter where he looks, it's pitch dark, and when it looks like there is something that sometimes dimly emerges from the darkness, that's the gleam of the needles of the terrifying mountain of needles, so there is nothing more lonely than this. On top of that, the place is filled with profound silence as inside of graves, and the only thing that can be heard from time to time is the faint sigh of sinners. It seems that human beings who have fallen into here are already exhausted from the various tortures in hell, and even lost the power to make a crying voice. Therefore, even a master thief Candida, suffocating by the blood in the blood pond as well, could only be struggling as if he were a dying frog. However, this is what happened once. As Candida casually raises his head and looks at the sky above the blood pond, he sees a silver spider's thread, gleaming straight and thinly, falling down above him in the silent darkness from the faraway heaven, as if it were afraid of being noticed. As Candida sees this, he was delighted with clapping his hands unintentionally. There is no doubt that he would get out of hell if he clings to this thread and climbs up as far as he can. No, if it goes well, he would even be able to enter paradise. If that happens, he would never be chased up to the mountain of needles, or be sunk in the blood pond anymore. Since he thinks like that, Candida immediately reels in and begins to climb up and up with his utmost effort, grasping the spider's thread firmly with both hands. Since he is originally a master thief, he has been too accustomed to this sort of thing from before. However, the distance between hell and paradise is tens of thousands of miles, so no matter how impatient he tried, he cannot come out to above easily. While climbing for a little while, Candida finally gets tired, and he cannot climb up to above anymore even one reel. So, he had no choice but to intend to take a rest first, while hanging in the middle of the thread, look down far below his eyes. Then, it was worth climbing up with the utmost effort. The blood pond that he was in until a while ago is now already hidden in the bottom of the darkness before he knows it. And then, that dimly glowing and terrifying mountain of needles has also become beneath his feet. If he climbs up at this rate, getting out of hell might be easier than he thought. Twining both hands in the spider's thread, Candida laughed like, "I've done it. I've done it," with a voice that he has never made in years since he came here. However, he suddenly noticed that at the lower part of the spider's thread, countless sinners are also climbing up and up, intently following after him like a procession of ants. When Candida saw this, he did nothing but only move his eyes in surprise and fear, with his big mouth open like an idiot for a while. How can this thin spider's thread, likely to snap even from his weight alone, bear the weight of that many people? If the thread should snap in two, even he, who had climbed up to this point with considerable effort, must fall back to original hell. If such a thing happens, it will be terrible. However, in the meantime, hundreds of thousands of sinners are crawling up in swarms from the bottom of the pitch-dark blood pond, and diligently climbing up the thin, gleaming spider's thread lining up in a row. If he doesn't do anything now, the thread must be snapped in two from the center and fall off. So Candida shouted in a loud voice, "Hey, you sinners! This spider's thread is mine. Who the hell allow you to climb it? Get off! Get off!" It is at that instant. The spider's thread, which had been nothing wrong until then, suddenly breaks off with the sound of snapping just from the point where Candida was hanging on. Therefore, Candida is unbearable. Before he could say anything, he falls with the head foremost, slicing through the air, spinning like a top, down to the bottom of the darkness in a second. After that, the spider's thread of paradise just gleaming shiny and thinly, and it just hangs shortly in the middle of the sky without the moon or stars. Shakyamuni stood at the edge of the lotus pond of paradise and was watching everything quietly, but soon after Candida sank in the bottom of the blood pond like a pebble, he started strolling again with a sad countenance. From the perspective of Shakyamuni, he would think it was despicable that the ruthless heart of Candida received a reasonable punishment, and has fallen back to the original hell. However, the lotus of the lotus pond in paradise does not care about such a thing at all. The pearl-like white flower moves the shank swaying around the foot of Shakyamuni, and the indescribable scent is incessantly overflowing from the golden pistils of its center. It seems paradise is almost noon already. What the author wanted to convey through the spider's thread. First, when Candida got the chance to escape from hell, the first thing that grew in his heart was the desire to be the only one to be saved. This feeling may be something that can happen to anyone. However, by following this desire, Candida ended up falling back into hell. When people are placed in extreme situations, they tend to only think about themselves. However, it may be that it is at times like these that we need to stop and think. Second, although there was only one spider's thread, many people could have climbed it together. If Candida had accepted other sinners, the ending of the story would have been very different. Have you ever had the experience of supporting someone in your daily life? We cannot live alone. That is why it is important to have compassion for one another. Third, it was just one small good deed that saved Candida from hell. It was a trivial incident, refraining from stepping on a spider to kill it. But that small act of compassion later gave him an opportunity for salvation. Our daily lives may actually be the same. A small act of kindness or compassion can have a big impact on someone's heart. Finally, here is the deepest message. Salvation is not simply escaping suffering. Continuing to have compassion for others may be true salvation. What do you think it means to be saved? Perhaps we all live our lives seeking salvation in our hearts.